Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and welcome to a different video than what has normally been for Prehistoric Kingdom. I am honestly not feeling fantastic today, but I still wanted to get out a video, mainly to keep the YouTube algorithm going and things of that nature, but also this is something that I've kind of wanted to address with you guys since the channel has largely been focused on the game as of late. So what we have here is the public roadmap. Now, many of you may not know this exists. Many of you may do, but this is public access knowledge and gives a relatively simplified idea on what's to come. Now, first and foremost, anything here is subject to change, get moved around, pushed back, axed, removed from development, etc., depending on how difficult it is or other features like that. So note that this is by far not the most definite outlook on early access, but I wanted to showcase it because since I am playing an early access game, it makes sense that since this is public knowledge, that you should know, if you don't, what's coming up. So, in a little bit of an unedited, very raw style format, we are going to take a look at all things early access. So we will start with May of 2022 with early access 1.0.1. Now, it's also important to note that there's nothing that gives very specific details about this. So you're pretty much getting at face value what you see here. So we will get additional animal animations. I know currently there's not a lot going on in there, so the interactions with the dinosaurs themselves aren't spectacular. Now, that isn't saying it isn't good, because there are some decently good animations, but they are rather simplified. In my series thus far, we've seen dinosaurs just walk, eat, and lay down. There hasn't been any interaction, at least not that we've seen thus far. So additional animal animations, whatever that does mean, will be good. I think adding any sort of animation that livens the dinosaurs will be great for general park builds. But we also have a food production system, or at least a food inventory system, in which case you can see here that different dinosaurs will obviously require different types of food, but it's something that you are going to have to create. You're going to have to import manually, and we can also see that there's amounts. There's 6 different types of food: plants, fruit, kibble, meat, fish, and insects. We have various degrees of inventory within that, the cost of what it's going to take to import whatever the selection is. But we also see a shipping time, which is interesting here because it means essentially that we are going to have to factor in how long it will take to import these goods, which means that if fish takes 2 months and you don't have enough of a supply, your dinosaurs could suffer. But what I also see by food production system is that I hope it means that we have the ability to somehow produce food. Now, this is very wishful thinking on my part, considering that the park is a preserve where I would love it to be completely self-sufficient. So I would love it if there was a way that we could produce food inside of our parks. It's a big, huge wish. The odds of this actually being what they mean are slim to none. But regardless, having a food inventory system is great because it will allow you, I think also in many ways, it might push you to focus on certain types of animals because various types of food might cause, supply chain issues, or it may be cheaper to supply one type of food or over another. One might get here faster, etc., etc. So that's a cool little system. I would like to know more details about it in the future, but regardless, I think it's nice. It's a nice little addition. Separates it from Jurassic World Evolution as well, which I think anything we can do to really engage in that way is always going to be great. Next up, we do have a notification system. Now, I don't think this is necessarily so important. I think it's fairly simple to just go into your financials and see, hey, this is how much I made last month. I can see my stars going up. This is very much, I feel, a correlation with Jurassic World Evolution, who says, hey, your last month, you got this much money and your stars increased. Whether that is in correlation with that or not, it's a good quality of life feature, but to me isn't something that should be focused on so heavily. There's simply other things that I believe would go well with that. Next up, we have a small and medium animal nursery that's pretty straightforward. It looks like we may have different types of nurseries that will only supply certain dinosaurs. Naturally, as a smaller medium versus the large, it'll take up less space. It'd be a little more seclusive. You could hide it a little better, or it would just be cool to have that smaller animation system going on. What I really like next is a habitat marker. This is invisible fencing that allows users to define a paddock. It does not stop animals from passing through though. This is great because what I'm going to be doing in my valley paddock, my big huge one that goes into the Cretaceous from across the bridge, is that I'm essentially going to have a giant pit, a valley in essence, and that pit is going to have fencing that you are not going to see because I don't want you to see it. It doesn't need to be seen because the dinosaurs aren't going to escape anyways. But this habitat marker will allow me to build an invisible fence rather than an actual fence that I'm just hiding, which I think is great. That will allow me to define parameters that define the paddock. That means they will know where they can go, but it doesn't limit the dinosaurs. I think it's really cool. I think it's great that dinosaurs, if it's invisible, obviously they'll just go straight through it. But I think it'll work very, very well to creating those seamless habitats where you don't see any of the unnatural formations via the fencing. We have an animal water trough, which is pretty self-explanatory. Currently, we only have a food platter, and we only have 2 of those. So having a water trough obviously is great. A topiary set and silhouette and animal shapes is something that they have actually discussed, and this is behind the scenes from their Twitter on what they mean. So we have currently right now, marble stone for the iguanodon, the T-Rex, and the woolly mammoth, and it looks like we have a topiary set coming up that involves a greater degree of creatures. And I think this will be pretty cool. I think this will be great. Having hedges alone would be a nice quality of life feature where everything doesn't have to be fences. And then we can just kind of build prop sets, which I think would also be pretty cool, for people to take pictures in front of and things of that nature. So overall in May, we've got a decent amount coming in. Not a ton dealing with park management, but still enough to where it's definitely satisfactory. Next, we're going to move into June, which is hopefully they're going to be EA 1.0.2. Currently under the Steam Workshop, you have to, there is no Steam Workshop. You make your prefabs, and then you can submit them on their Discord or post them publicly, and it's just a file that you import in. Hopefully by June of 2022, we can actually upload those to Steam so you can simply subscribe to them and they'll always be in there, which I think is a huge quality of life feature that will go a long ways. Overhauls the 2D background for the main menu. I don't think that's important for us. And then we also see additional guest ethnicities and animations. Currently, guests don't do much. They just kind of wander aimlessly around, and I think it is very restricted on ethnicities. So anything to do to include more ethnicities is obviously going to be great. I'm all about diversity. I don't see any reason why that should be a negative thing to view, and I'd be interested to know what kind of animations. Are they going to point at dinosaurs? Are they going to interact with the restaurants? Are they going to interact with different objects? Currently, it's just an object collision that often they'll just clip through. But maybe there's going to be more interactions that we just don't see. It would be cool to see something like dinosaurs, like a T-Rex roaring and guests kind of get scared and jump a little bit. Things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to see what those look like in the future. Animal info signs is exactly what it sounds like. Just simply don't climb on fences, don't feed animals, no flash photography. This is cool. I wonder if they will do this for all of the creatures because it's something I've wanted to create, but this is tedious to do. So it'd be great if they included signs for all of the current dinosaurs so I can put them in my exhibits and do that sort of a flair. Because like I said, I've wanted to, but that's a tedious level that I just don't want to deal with right now. We also have another roof set, terracotta. I think this would go well in my park. Currently, the roof set's rather limiting for that sort of nature-friendly kind of deal, and I think just terracotta sets would go a long ways towards fulfilling my own personal desires for the park. And then we have a rock overhaul and rock styling, which includes sand, moss, and snow. I'm super excited for this. Moss fits in so many different environments. New rock types and new styling for sand and snow is also great. At one point in the beta, and I don't know why this got axed, and I'm actually really disappointed that it got axed. At one point, you could specify rock colors based on the biome that you selected. So much like you do the brush for the trees and for the plants, you could select a brush essentially for the rocks. So instead of manually going in and changing colors, which I think is great, I don't have a problem with it, but I miss that beta feature where I could go in and I could select coastal and it would have a coastal color palette for my rocks, so I don't have to go in and manually do it myself, because I kind of suck at choosing colors. And I think that was such a great quality of life feature that went along with everything they're doing with the brush styles for all of that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the rock styling rock types, but I'm looking forward to it. As for foliage, we don't have any, I guess, additional tropical foliage, which is great. I really hope they get to the desert foliage, because that's one thing that I think a lot of improvements could be made towards. Having that other biome would be just fantastic. And then beyond the monthly updates, we do have a quarterly update, Early Access 1.1. Now this is a little more in the future. This is not a specified date, and hopefully they'll break it down as we get along. But these are kind of things they're hoping to do over multiple months. So EA 1.1 includes 3 new species. I don't even think we get any hints. Nope. We get animal locomotion update. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means whatsoever. Animal look targets. Animals will look at other creatures or objects. That's cool. But what is the locomotion? Are we going to be able to have transportation in the park? I don't know. This is cool though. Random objectives. I'm always all for random objectives, especially when they give you great rewards. In this case, if you increase your guest count and your guest welfare to a certain extent, you will be able to get money and you'll be able to get science points. This is more for, you know, the hardcore players who like their campaigns to be a little more difficult, but I still think it's a great quality of life feature. Along with that, we have guest welfare. Currently, right now, I don't think there's anything tied to guest welfare. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that would be a great addition to be able to cater to the guests. I don't think it needs to be to the degree that Jurassic World Evolution 2 did, although I like that system. I think just general welfare of, are they seeing good animals? Are they having fun? Are their needs being met, etc., would be great. We also have a research system, which is going to be great. Anything research related to these sort of management games is great. Be able to unlock new buildings, maybe even unlocking new dinosaurs. Currently, it's just tied to research points that you can unlock immediately. I would love for those excavations to take a degree of time. And then research is obviously, you know, increasing dinosaur health, maybe researching diseases. The research system in Jurassic World Evolution 2 is fantastic, and I would love to see that system sort of implemented and created on its own for Prehistoric Kingdom. We also have a potential other map, a potential that 3 question marks means it's not going to be high on their list, but I think it would be great. And then a new biome, which it doesn't look like it's it. Man, I really hope it's desert. Really hope it's desert, because I like the desert biome. I would love to see a desert biome. Moving on to 1.2, we have 3 new species again, and that's going to be repeated throughout. So hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, we'll have at least 12 new, or 16, no, 12 new species. Math is difficult. Between all of the early updates, which will bring us to quite a few animals overall. Locomotion of swimming. The ability for dinosaurs to swim would be fantastic. I think it would create a lot of cool animations. Whether or not that means that we will get aquatic animals, I don't know, because that would require them to be able to have the water function limited inside of a paddock, and I don't see any indication that that's going to happen. But we do have herding and packing, overhauling the social needs of the animals. I think that's going to be great. Any interactions like that create a great immersion effect. And so to be able to see them herding and packing together across species as well. There's so much evidence of multiple species of dinosaurs coexisting together, herding together, and packing together, just like you'll see in modern day animals. We also have a heat system. I don't know anything about that. I guess if you wanted to have a heat system for your guests in the snow biome, that would make sense. A paleopedia, so you can be able to research and look up what your different animals will need. That kind of goes along, I think, with the food production system. It would be great if animals got some of their needs from within the plants that you plant inside of your paddocks. We'll see if that ever happens, though. Another potential map and another potential new biome, and that's kind of what we'll see going throughout, is that we're going to see species, we're going to see potential for a new map, and then something related to biomes themselves. And then 1.3, it's the exact same format. We got that animal disease system, which will be great. That will tie into research, I think, fantastically. But then it will be implementing it that will be the tricky part, because we currently don't have staff. Now that comes with staff and staff management. But what will that look like? How will it compare to things like Planet Zoo? How will it compare to Jurassic World Evolution? If an animal escapes, if a dinosaur escapes, how do we use our staff to control that situation? How will it affect the other park guests, other dinosaurs, etc., etc.? That's yet to be known, but I like it. I hope these are very well implemented. They'll need to be in order for me to be satisfied. Paleobotany, obviously the study of the plants and animals of the time period. I think it will be crucial. I think at some point they are going to implement this idea where you are going to have to be careful in what you plant inside of paddocks, because it could be very dangerous if an animal consumes them. Now, obviously something like a T-Rex, it might not matter so much. But if you plant the wrong biome or the wrong type of plant in with a certain species, it could have detrimental effects. I'm hoping that's what that means. Obviously, we don't have anything, but I'm hoping that's exactly what it means. Landscaping tool improvements. This can always be improved. And honestly, I think this needs to go into May of 2022. I think landscaping tool improvements is the biggest fault in Prehistoric Kingdom in its current phase. I think it's very, very buggy. I don't think it is very, very buggy. It is one of the more frustrating parts, if not the most frustrating part of Prehistoric Kingdom. It's great, and it does things that no other game does, in my opinion. And the things that it does do well, they do very well. But how many times have you seen from personal experience or from watching other people's videos, including mine, of I go to soften something and you have jagged, weird edges, or I go to do this one tiny thing and it causes a huge disruption that undoing or redoing screws up. So I think landscaping tool improvements is way too far behind in the roadmap, and hopefully they will see that and be able to maybe focus on that more. I would totally bypass a lot of these things like animal look targets, animal locomotion updates, random objectives, even a paleopedia or maps in favor of better landscaping tools. So I'm a bit disappointed that it's all the way back there in early access 1.3, but nonetheless, there it is, and hopefully it will be absolutely fantastic. And then of course another map. And then for the last quarterly update, early access 1.4. Now mind you, this is looking to probably be, these two will most likely be ballpark end of 2022, early 2023. These quarterly updates, if they do this in the second quarter, they're kind of in the second quarter now, and then we haven't heard anything about it. So this is looking like Q3 of 2022, maybe, where we get to see the fall of 2022. This looks then to be, winter of 2022, spring and summer of 2023, where we'll finally get to see our last set of species, genetic mutations, which we don't have anything about, but that will be interesting. I don't think it's going to be on the level of Jurassic World Evolution, but it will still be great. We have ontogeny and breeding, which I think will be great. The ability for dinosaurs to breed. We obviously have male and female dinosaurs, unlike quote-unquote Jurassic World Evolution. So to see the ability to breed, and maybe we can sell them, much like they do in Planet Zoo, would be a cool feature. And then genetic traits. I think genetic traits are great. They bring different animations. They bring different needs, different desires. That just makes the simulation management aspect of Prehistoric Kingdom fantastic. So I'm excited to see that. And then of course we have another map. I'm not so worried about maps. I think maps are good, but they're not essential to me amongst other things. Now, ongoing development is something that we have to look at as well. We have animal welfare. How do the dinosaurs work and act, and how do they are they taken care of? We have animal AI and pathfinding. Obviously, the pathfinding is a little wonky. You've got creatures that will just walk through water without any reactions or conditions. We have guest AI and pathfinding. The guest AI could always use improvement, both the animals and the guests. Anything that can improve that will be great. Right now, it's a little wonky, but it's not terrible. Foliage biomes, obviously, they have 6 out of the 8. They're looking at grassland and desert. So, again, I'm hoping for desert. Grassland, I think, could wait until the very, very end. And then path, undo, redo. I think the undo, redo system overall needs help and needs a lot of work. It's not awful, but it certainly could be improved. And then we have a backlog. These are the things that have kind of taken a back burner that they need to work on, that they just can't for other reasons. Mini aviary rework. It's going to see a full rework, so little has changed between alpha and beta. They made the aviary cage into a modular object to better fit with the construction grid, which is great. Staff management, a temperature system, grass rendering overhaul. I still think that grass needs to go away when you put anything on top of it. I think that's one of the other biggest faults in the game, and that you have to take a lot of extra steps to remove the grass from paths, from buildings you've laid down, from rocks, etc., etc. So hopefully that's part of the grass rendering overhaul. Path curbs. This sounds a little ridiculous, but I also think curbs would go a lot towards the building a legitimacy to pathing that not many games have. It sounds really weird for me to focus on this, but I think path curbs would be a great feature. Water surface interaction is obviously something that needs a lot of work. Weather wetness occlusion as well. Foliage wind simulation. All of those things are great things that need to be worked on. They're on the backlog though, so we don't have an ETA on any of those parts. Dynamic camera mix and sound obstruction and guest crowd audio. I don't think there's really anything really in the way of that right now. So seeing that they're going to focus on the audio is great. Immersion is as much audio as it is visual. Anything that can engage our senses and that does it well will fit into that. So I'm happy to see that they are working on it. But overall, there's a lot that they're basically hoping to achieve in the next year. It's very ambitious, especially for a game that's been in development since 2014, I think. But at the same time, I do think they've seen some great success with the game so far. I'm enjoying it very thoroughly, as you have seen in my series so far as well. So I am optimistic that they will be able to hit these goals. There are some things I'm disappointed in terms of prioritizing, but you know, they have a team of people working on this that that know a heck of a lot more than I do. So I'm not pessimistic about their goals, and I hope that they are able to receive all the support that they need, and that we can get Jurassic World Evolution, get Prehistoric Kingdom looking at its best while it is in early access. Guys, that's going to be everything from me regarding the roadmap for Prehistoric Kingdom. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, of course, you can do all the things to engage the algorithm as always, such as giving it a thumbs up, subbing to this channel, becoming a YouTube member, giving a comment, even just saying for the YouTube algorithm gods is enough. And then, of course, sharing it across the board. And I will have the link to this Trello board so you can see it at any time that you want. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. We will return to the park in the next episode once I'm feeling full steam ahead. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next one.
These are nature's greatest creations. This is your park. This is Prehistoric Kingdom.